Hold on.
Everybody, hello, and welcome back to 3 Plus 1 Media, where we talk about people, politics, and pop culture. And we are here with the weekly reader and your powerhouse panel of boldly blue voices. Everybody, Kenny just popped off, but he'll be back to pop right back on. Welcome, guys. How has the week been, ladies?
It feels like it's Thursday. It's only Tuesday. It's been a week.
Why does it? Why? What the heck? Why? Is it the eclipse? Did Beelzebub come and sap our energy and take us 2 days into the future? Because something don't feel right. I agree with you. Today feels like Thursday. Truer words could not have been spoken, Karen.
One of my colleagues thought it was Wednesday, and I'm just like, it's Tuesday because I'm in the office today because I worked all day in person, which I'm just like, I had to like get accustomed to taking the train during rush hour time because I've been working from home for almost a year. So it's just like it's
Mm.
just yeah.
How long does it
That is
take
an
you?
adjustment.
Yeah, how long does it take you to get to work when you now?
Well, from because I also live by a crosstown bus because I live like by the water. So and I felt that earthquake. So
Wow.
I felt
Mm.
the aftershocks of that. So like from the bus to the train is about a 5 to like 7 minute bus ride. In the train, it's about a 15-minute ride. So it takes me about like 25 minutes to get to work. 25 to 30 minutes tops.
Wow. Okay. And you felt the earthquake.
I actually felt the aftershocks.
What was it like?
I was sitting on my bed on my laptop working. I didn't have any scheduled meetings that day besides one meeting at 12 with my boss. It's like a weekly meeting. And I'm just sitting there typing away. And all of a sudden I heard no, it was after my one-on-one with another person before my one-on-one meeting. My mistake. And also I'm typing, I hear like my bed shook a little, and then I heard stuff in my refrigerator shaking, and I hear stuff like other places shaking. I'm like, okay, what's going on? My building's not tilted. My building is like a 40-story building. And I'm just like, what is going on? And then I was like, I felt a little shake again. It was like 15 seconds. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, there's there's been an earthquake. Because I was like looking on the internet to make sure, like, because I knew it felt like a earthquake because an aftershock happened 13 years prior to Friday when there was when there was an earthquake in Virginia and New York City felt the aftershocks because something was leaning.
Mm.
I felt like something was tilting like a little,
But
and so
on TV, they make it seem like you guys have like subway and all this stuff is constantly like trains moving, and it always feels like everything shakes in New York. Like, did it
but
not feel like just a regular New York day?
it didn't felt like the regular New York day because like it was in people's apartments. People felt shit
Mm,
moving in their apartments and in their houses too. If you live in a house in New York, if you live
mm.
like in the outer boroughs like Brooklyn, Queens, or if you own like a townhouse in Manhattan, own like several, you felt it. You felt it. You felt it. Period. My parents didn't feel it because they live in a pre-war building, and those are like
So,
over
so
a
they didn't feel
hundred.
it at all. I just want to
Mm-mm.
say, and let me get big. Let me look. Let me get big. This is a very important message to all New Yorkers out there. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And back in 2014, we had what has become deemed snowpocalypse. And it's where the city shut down because of a very fast, quickly moving ice storm. And there were people in New York who had memes all over the internet of like little solo cups of ice thrown out and traffic stopping. And the reality is, the South, in many places, they do not have the equipment or the means to deal with ice on roads because it's an infrequent occurrence. And so I witnessed people in like California trying to make fun of people in New York being shocked by the earthquake. It's the exact same thing. Like, New York is not familiar or used to this type of phenomenon. So I just want to say this is a great time to emphasize empathy around the United States for the different weather phenomenon and geographical phenomenon and all types of things that happen in certain parts of the country that other parts may not be used to.
Well, rumor has it was actually the earthquake was caused by George Santos wringing out one of his wigs. So that's the rumor.
Well, actually,
I believe it.
the earthquake originally happened in Bergen County, New Jersey, and they're saying it, but I don't think it's true. The epicenter was at Trump's Bedminster area, but my mom said Bedminster is far from Bergen County because I go food shopping in Bergen County and I go to Walmart, and I was like, okay,
Okay, so
because
you're
my
saying
mom
now
does go
that
food
that's
shopping in
not
Jersey.
true.
So that's not true. But Bergen County is right across the river. So what happened to some of our K-hivers or folks in the collective that are from New Jersey that live in Bergen County, we had to check on them to make sure they were okay. They said they felt stuff moving, but nobody was injured and nobody was hurt, which was good.
And that's the
Versus
most
the
important thing.
most of the one in Virginia, people died. So it's just like,
The
I believe
one
people,
years ago.
yeah, people died. I don't make fun of no geographic bad weather or anything as a New Yorker. I don't. I just found it interesting that my beef is with Bostonians because they try to outdo New Yorkers. I have a beef with Bostonians.
Well, and there are people that have a beef with President Biden's student loan forgiveness plan. That is the first thing up on the agenda. And when we're talking about things that we don't believe, this is something that I'm really excited to talk about it. And I regret and hate that Brian isn't here. Brian is one of the most knowledgeable people that I know around this student loan work. And so I picked this topic before knowing that Brian would be out with his job. He's in Denver. I know that he is, working from day in, from the end of the day to beginning of the day, and then also in different time zones of what we are on. So I hate that he can't be here. But this is a pretty big deal. We had another announcement that President Biden and his administration was doing some further student loan forgiveness. I think it is $45.6 billion in student loan forgiveness has already been achieved for 1 million borrowers prior to this announcement. So it is huge what President Biden is doing for student loan forgiveness, especially considering that this was never part of his original plan or push when he was running for office in the first place. Although people seem to want to rewrite history and make it seem as though he promised $50,000 in forgiveness on day
Well, he
one, which he,
definitely
he
promised
never
10,000.
did. He promised 10,000, but that
If
was after a lot of pushing and a
yeah,
lot of lobbying from the progressives and young people in the Democratic Party. Originally, President Biden was like, "Yeah, no, that's not going to happen." Um, because he knew it wasn't that he knew the difficult road ahead and the challenges that would be faced in getting this approved. So I just want to open the floor. We start with this topic, and let's just really talk about what this means, the message, the opposition to it, and what our next steps are as people who believe in this president and who want to see this message get across. Because I have a lot of good stuff in this PowerPoint for the show that we'll run through. Who wants to take it? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Carrie. We'll
I
go to
know a
Carrie.
lot
Then we'll
about this
pop to
subject.
Shantae.
Yeah, I know a
Carrie,
lot about
take
this
it
subject.
away.
Yay. Okay, so first of all, everybody should know that it's actually like 1.86 billion in student loan debt that has been canceled since the president has come into office. Also, to the Public Loan Service Forgiveness Program, before President Biden, 99% of all applications were actually denied. And there were only like 7,000 people who had successfully gotten their loans, their student loans forgiven. That number now today in 3 short years is almost 1 million borrowers. There's like 900,000 that have been forgiven in that public loan service. And then they are sending out loans, or they're sending out emails letting people know who have like 3 years left or whatever. So that in itself is a huge accomplishment that he was able to work out the bugs in that system. As far as this latest round, so the people who are included in this, and just so everybody knows that this is done through the Higher Education Act. So it's a completely different mechanism than what they were using before that was shot down at the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court was like, hey, you can't do it with that act that they were trying to do it. So they really wanted to look at the authority that they had. This includes people who have been paying on their student loans for 20 years, 25 years for graduate loans. Your loans will be forgiven regardless of the balance. This also includes people who have had their interest accrue in such a way that the balance, like you owe more now than you did when you first started paying, right? So there's going to be an automatic cancellation of up to $20,000 worth of interest. If that is the case, that is not income qualifying. Okay. If you are a single borrower who makes $120,000 or more, it's possible that you would be able to have more than 20,000 canceled. Same way if you're a couple that makes 240. And also there's two more things that are included. One is if you went to a school that just did not provide you with like it's not accredited or it was a shitty program, you will have your loans canceled. This last one is really interesting. If you are experiencing a financial hardship, so you qualify. Now here's how they are determining a financial hardship, y'all. The cost, the amount of money that you spend on daycare. So it's not necessarily income. So let's say you make a decent income, but your mortgage is high, your rent is high, your daycare is high. They're going to have a formula as far as disposable income, which qualifies you as having a hardship where they can look at giving you some forgiveness on some or all of that student debt. So it's huge. It's huge. They estimate that it's going to affect 30 million borrowers. 30 million. It's huge.
Okay.
And I'm one of them.
Okay. Yeah. A question from Kitty, and then we'll go to Shantae.
All right, Carrie, I have a question because I was reading over it, and it said something about those who would be eligible for the SAVE program that have not applied. Would they automatically apply if they haven't? Would it automatically apply to them as well? Okay, so that answered my question because I was reading through it and I was like, okay, wait a minute. So just a story. I was talking to, because I want to talk about, because we're on student loan. I was talking to my manager, right? And she said, well, how do you feel that things are going to happen with Joe Biden? Because he promised us student loan debt forgiveness and we haven't gotten anything. I said, have you applied for SAVE? She said, what the hell is that? I said, oh my God. So in less than 3 minutes, I sat with her on her phone. We applied for SAVE. And the amount that she was paying, which was $398, dropped down to $47 instantly.
That's crazy.
And she didn't even know. I said, you could have applied for this a long time ago to save you some money. Like you were talking about how you're spending too much money and this, that, and the other, and you have all these unexpected expenses. You're trying to buy a house. This could save you money. This is literally your own money. This is what the Biden-Harris administration has provided to you. And it would have took a quick Google search, but hey, you're lucky that I know the information and I was able to give it to you so that you're able to apply and save this amounts of money. So that's a big thing. So for those who don't even know that they qualify for things like the SAVE program, this is going to benefit you guys. Even if you haven't filled out the application, it's just going to automatically drop based off of your income.
Which is huge. And another thing that I wanted people to know, which I was really surprised at, they're checking on all of it for me, but a lot of this actually applies to the Parent Plus loans. So if you were a parent that signed for these loans and you are stuck and straddled with this student loan debt, you are eligible for some relief. And that never happens. Like they never include those.
Well, let's make no mistake. That's something that we need to say more of. That this it's not that never happens. None of this has ever happened. People, none of this has ever happened. Joe Biden is the first president in the history of this country to do anything to alleviate the debt saddled by those people who have sought to achieve a basic American education post-secondary. He's the very first president. This has never been something brought to the table by any other president before and will not be brought to the table if a Republican president is put into office. And it baffles me how Americans aren't thinking about that or aren't seeing that or really just don't care to think through how this works. And I have to, and let's give credit to the progressives who pushed and made this happen in the first place. So thank you for what you've done. Thank you for pushing forward. But let's, all of this is completely new and should be like a big deal. We're going to talk about Joe Biden's accomplishments, but this in and of itself is historic and could be the one thing that should almost ensure this man's reelection from a number of people that have student loans. Shantae.
For a person that's on the save plan right now, because I was on the IBR plan on deferment because I was in grad school, and I had a lot of financial hardship coming out of school for years. I didn't start really making a decent salary till I was like in my 30s, and so like I was paying all my student loans here and there, but I had to like stop for a second. So I wasn't paying it for like 20 years or anything. But since, thank you, Carrie, for giving that knowledge about the student loan. It's applicable to everybody because, as Zach said, that was not his initial plan. He did say $10,000 in his campaign thing when it came to like the final stretch before Bernie Sanders. But the fact that he is doing this and overreach to doing this, it proves that to get people out of hardship so they can stop this. Now, there's Republicans, of course, but there are some Democrats that are being having pushback. But like at the end of the day, if you want America to thrive, if you want Americans to thrive, and it's not just young people dealing with this debt. There's people that's my age. Well, I'm still young. There's people that's older than me. There's people that's in their 50s that's still dealing with this debt. So, unless the only way that American can thrive, if the middle of America can thrive, if the average America, like all of us in here, we can thrive, then and pay and get at least some things forgiven, like our student loans forgiven, even if it's not a lot, even if it's 20,000, anything beats a blank, right? Anything beats a blank, because the worst thing you can have is more debt on top of debt on top of debt. And while the top gets a lot, so we have to think about the people that are dealing with this debt, and the president is dealing with a whole host of things. But this save plan was good, and I'm glad Kenny told. I told my aunt about the save plan, and now that my aunt is also a parent plus loan borrower from my cousin, and my cousin, 12 years of education, Jesus Christ. So like yeah, her, my younger cousin. And so like that alone, will like help. And she works for the government too. Because plus loans is Sally Mae. Well, I don't know about Sally Mae, but plus loans is a nightmare.
See,
I'm glad my mom didn't do it for me. She did it for my older sister, but I had to take out at the time. I had to get denied from Parent Plus loans because of my sister who messed up in school, and so my mom was paying off those loans. So I had to do like the unsubsidized and the subsidized loans. I mean, it was nuts. So this save plan, like I pay $20. I might be paying a little bit more because now like I make like, but even if it's a couple dollars more, like it's better than over $100 or $300, $400, $600, because those are people
Right.
payments.
And what it's doing
so
is locking you into a lower payment so that no matter what happens, who gets in office, you're locked into that payment. And once you hit a certain required number of payments, your loans will be forgiven. It's setting up every American who has loan debt for the relief that they are owed and for what across the board. Carrie.
Well, I was going to say two things about the save plan that people need to understand is that if your payment is $20 because of your income, or it's $0, and that's not enough to cover the interest that is being accrued on your loan, the government is taking care of that interest payment. Your interest will not grow on your principal balance. That's Joe Biden. That is Joe Biden, y'all. So you logistically, if you work a minimum wage job, and or you work a job, or you have a ton of children, whatever it might be, and you have a $20 payment and you've got 10 years left on your loan, if you make your loan payment $20 a month for the last 10 years, the save program will cancel out your debt
Sure
after,
will.
at the end of that period.
The
And
sad
so,
thing
and
about
what,
it is,
yeah. And the only
Estimated
other thing
my
I did want
estimated
to
date
say,
is 2042, when I'm like 40, no, when I'm like close to being 60 something. Uh, I
and
don't know.
a lot of people don't understand is not only did he do something on the back end with student loans. I have a son in college, y'all. So they also increased the amount, or they lowered the income limits of parents so that kids can now qualify for more Pell Grant money. That's huge. So they're giving opportunity. They're giving more Pell Grants out on the front end. So a lot more people can qualify. And then
If it
they're on the
happens.
back end, they
If it
are,
happens.
doing all these things. So, I
And
mean,
let me
it's
just
just, Yeah.
Yeah, but if it happens, because again, we can never underestimate the determination of congressional Republicans to ensure that the working class American stays working class, and that the American citizen who is barely making ends meet are not able to make ends meet. Republicans have already levied court challenges against President Biden's most recent announcement.
And
Shante.
if and honestly, to
Yeah,
tell
they
you the
have.
truth, if Republicans for the last, I'm 38, they've been abysmal since 1968 or maybe before, but they just got worse. And they every decade they just keep progressively getting worse. If this Republican Party don't show you what they're doing, I don't know what to tell you folks, because for a person that went to college during a Republican administration, the second half of it, which led to a freaking financial crisis, should tell you something. What's the issue with Americans? They get amnesia too quick. They lose focus. It's not enough knowledge. And I understand people don't, watch the news and everything. There's still the newspaper around. Look at
I
your
can,
paycheck.
yeah, I'll just say I'm the oldest person here, obviously, right? I can tell you that, when I look at the presidents in my lifetime, this President Biden has done so much. We don't have enough hours in the day to talk about all the accomplishments. And I think that's where my frustration is, because I think if the American public truly knew even a fraction of what has been done, they would have a much different opinion as to this president. And I'm going to say right now, I think that, yes, we can thank the progressives for the influence. I think a lot of this is Kamala, you guys.
It
I
is.
think a lot of this is Kamala's influence. He
The
listened
Lift
to
Act,
her.
that whole 500 extra money, couple of hundred
Mhm.
dollars for parents back in 2021, even though some of them was getting their ass done with that money, believe it or not buying the right shit for their kids, excuse my French, getting their behinds done with that money. That was to lift that lifted 50% of children out of poverty.
We
And
believe it.
Ask
It
them for
lifted 50% of children
$500,
out of poverty, but it also lifted some butts.
It
It
sure
did some
did.
which
lifting. It
is
lifted.
Look,
which is good for
I'm
America,
one of them
y'all. But
butts. I needed that
I
check.
agree.
that
It
is
is good
coming
for
back
America.
though. That is written into next year's budget to make that permanent, a little bit different, but part of the budget that was submitted for President Biden is making that law of the land. So people could be getting that tax credit button, and then maybe they can get their boobs done with,
Everybody can't lift themselves off the bootstrap. They need a little assistance. um Mr. Juiceberry's on the Supreme Court. Mr. Willie Lynch on the Supreme Court. Y'all know who that I'm talking about. Everybody cannot lift themselves off the bootstrap. People need a little bit of boost. Even not, and I don't like to say the term welfare. People just need a little bit of money just to feed their kids, because food is expensive. No matter if you live in the urban community, a suburban community, or even yes, or even the
rural.
rural community.
Yeah.
You need a leg up. And my mom, and I don't want to give y'all a history lesson, but my mom always gives me history lessons all the time. My mom is 70, will be 71. So she had me at 32. She had, my mom talked about how it was hard for her to get WIC with my elder sister. But the only reason why she got WIC with my middle sister, which is 2 years older than me, because she was underweight and she was a preemie.
Mm.
And then she got WIC with me because she got WIC with her. But look how, that was nuts. And then, like, what Reagan did with the whole Reaganomics thing really messed up some people. It really messed up
Mm.
things, especially in like black communities, which was rural, suburban, or urban. These Republicans, and in the Bush era, he lied about raising people taxes. And Bush 43 basically like cut some funding for Pell Grants, because like I was lucky to get the Pell Grants I get, because I was getting like very little of support with my in like applying for colleges in my state. So I had to go out of state to get more money, which is up further up north, versus like getting it from here. And so what President Biden's doing is extending and making sure that people could go to school and investing in different universities, which is public or everything. And his next thing, what he wanted to do, I know what he really wanted to do from that BBB, which is the Build Back Better agenda
Mm.
was to make community college free.
Free for
And of
all.
course, and of course, it was pushed back from, Mrs. Rainbow
From
dresses
yeah, from the
and
Republicans.
that man.
But here's the thing,
Sorry to go along
no,
so
but there's
long.
a whole
Sorry.
entire push and a whole entire movement to ensure that the working class stays in servitude, making wages. That is a part of the Republican agenda for America. And if people have education and people have the means of earning more, doing more, elevating themselves, whether it's through entrepreneurship, content creation, innovation, whatever it is, then they're not going to be inclined to do what the billionaire class wants them to do. When you talk about the worst Republican, I want to talk like when did it all go to hell for Republicans? Well, it started back in 1877 when Rutherford B. Hayes was Republican president who decided to throw all black people under the bus, remove troops from uh, remove military support from the South post Civil War, effectively ending Reconstruction and ensuring that Black people lived, an entire generation of hellscape life in the South. So let's talk about that. Let's put the blame where it starts. It starts with the failures of Rutherford B. Hayes. I know that because of Clay Kane's book, The Grift. When you talk about the Reagan administration and what Reagan did, you're also talking about a whole entire class of Black people that Clay talks about in The Grift and how they set themselves up for success at the expense of the entire community. So if you haven't read this book, it's really good. I read it too fast. I read the book too fast. So I promise I did. I read the book way too fast. And so when I finished reading the book, I was like so in love with the book. I was like, Clay, I'm going to break down and make some visuals to go along with the book. And I know Clay is like, well, what the fuck is my visuals? Well, Clay, I read it too fast. I have to go back and reread it again because I read too much. I read too much. And so now so much of the key points they're
You're gonna
gone.
have to
Like,
highlight it. Get you a highlighter and start,
well, I
writing
mean, I
it.
think I'm major. I
Annotate
have
the
two.
text.
You guys, yeah, I
Annotate.
have 2 degrees in English. I have 2 degrees in English, and so I don't actually read the way that I mean. You, I read different. I read very,
You're a
very
speed
different.
reader.
I
But
am an
teacher,
extreme. I'm an extreme speed reader. So but the thing is that as I'm reading it super fast, I'm getting everything I need out of it, and I actually won't forget it. That's why I'm able to
so
like
you
cite
don't
things.
annotate the text?
Not when it's something like this, no. Like I will be annotating. I will annotate a text if I'm going to teach the text, right? But I didn't plan to
He's
love this book,
consuming the book. Okay, it's like we're going out
right?
to dinner. He ain't ate all day, and they done put the grift on his plate. He's consuming that thing. Okay, he ain't ate all day. That he done licked the plate clean with the grift, and
So
that's the
yeah,
problem.
right.
Is
So
he going back for
if I had
seconds?
have known I was going to love the book as much as I love the book, I would have read it with the intention of providing analysis on the book. I didn't realize that I loved this book until I had started reading it and couldn't put it down, and I was too far into it to do that level of annotation to have my notes quick. So I'm going to have to reread the book. But all that to say, the Republicans started to fail us with Rutherford B. Hayes, and it hadn't gotten right since, and it's not going to get right. We have real issues around student loan forgiveness in this country, and just I went through and did, of course, some research preparing for this right when we have, hey Barbara, we love you, right when we have an entire group of people talking about and President Biden coming out and making even more student loan forgiveness, again 1 million Americans benefiting before this even goes into effect. There is a massive push in newspapers and media to tear this down and to stop it. Here's an article in the USA Today that talks about we should not be forgiving these loans for Gen Z, and they're angry about it. Republicans are mad about it. They're not wanting this to happen, and they're starting and queuing up their PR machines. We also have this article that said Biden's latest lawless student loan forgiveness that was published by the Wall Street Journal's editorial board, and they're talking about this is going to hurt the American economy and it's going to cause uh, more like illegal. Like they're basically saying that he does not have the right to do this. He doesn't have that this is unfair. This is outside the bounds of executive actions. Although I'm assuming they're wanting Project 2025 and all of those actions, they will probably argue that maybe that is appropriate. So all that to say, like while we're sitting here and we're championing, and proud of what's happening, that isn't what a number of people in this country are wanting to see. And it's baffling to me that President Biden and Vice President Harris and the administration, they're doing the things that's right for the majority of Americans with opposition from a whole group of people, but they're not getting the praise from the people who this is benefiting. And it
I need
really pisses me off.
I have to say something. Oh God, it's brewing my now. I'm trying not to curse Zach, but some things just you know
I think you can
the
curse a little bit
I'm not
because
going to though, but I'm not
what they
going to.
said was, but because when you look at the YouTube guidelines, it talks about in the first X number of minutes of the show. So we're at 30 minutes, so it might be, a little slip up here and there may be okay.
Hold your
The
stuff, Dante.
the Grand Insurrectionist Party, formerly known as the Grand Old Party, the party of Lincoln, now they the party of MAGA. It's very interesting that they are conservative hawks. They don't like to. That's what they call themselves. Not by me. I'm just the messenger saying what the slogan is. And the simple fact is, they conservative hawks, but conservative hawks are programs that help the majority of Americans, which is some folks in their freaking base. So I don't even understand this will hurt the economy. It will actually better the economy versus having, what's not bettering the economy? Donald Trump's tax cut, because it's actually costing the country. It is bringing us more trillions of dollars of debt. And I find it interesting that some of his opponents are, saying that this president, that he's running up the deficit when in fact it's actually was their leader. Every time when a Republican has been in office in my 38 years of life, is always a Democrat, always saving the day. And the fact that people in the Democratic Party seem to not understand it, because they want to still cater to that independent that will sway away. At this time, independents are, I don't want to keep saying this, but it's people of color, black, brown, indigenous is the ones that's making up the majority of this country, and they're the ones that need the leg up. And also, the last time I checked, and it's a good thing that I was about to bring this up. Didn't PPP loans were forgiven back in the during the pandemic? That bum, yes, I'm saying that bum forgave those PPP loans, because they forgive that, and that cost the country even more money. But canceling student loans is an issue. That's like they don't want to be giving people like extra money like in their SNAP benefits because it costs the country. How about putting us in meaningless wars like they did, Republicans, since I've been alive, have instituted their economic policies that hurt and fractured the middle class. Ronald Reagan, I'm talking to you. I'm speaking to the dead. I'm speaking to the dead George H.W. Bush. I'm speaking, yeah, yeah. You're taxing, and that bum who hopefully he rot in hell in some jail. His tax cuts cost the country. His deficit is almost matching Ronald Reagan's deficit. So I like like this conservative hawk and fiscal conservative crap is a bunch of cocky. It's a bunch of bullshit. That's what I
Yeah, I
want to
mean
say.
it
That
is.
I'm really trying. Like I'm
No,
trying because
but
it
what
makes
you
me mad
and
as
we'll
a
go to you,
business
Carrie.
person.
Yeah, Carrie,
As
ask
a
your question.
I
I'm
But I
just
sorry,
have
also want
two
to,
Carrie.
and
things.
what's coming up next? Carrie's going to ask a question, but what's coming up next is again uh, the reality. And you talked about Shantae. This is meant to help, and it is helping Black and Brown people, but Black and Brown people are not realizing it. Carrie, your question.
Well, okay, they absolutely. I don't necessarily have a question. I just wanted to say something that maybe people do not know. So, in the last few weeks of Donald Trump's presidency, he had his business, his SBA department unflag over millions of loans. So, millions of PPP loans have been flagged for fraud. It could have been they didn't qualify because the company didn't was just newly formed. They didn't have any employees. The company was too large for whatever reasons that these didn't qualify. And most of these, y'all, were huge, large corporations. We are talking about loans, PPP loans in the millions. Okay,
And they just
he
got wiped away.
Well, they were flagged as being possibly fraudulent, and there's well over a million. We're talking about like billions of dollars of this shit, y'all. He literally, up until the day when when they dragged him out, he was unflagging these. And so the majority of them, yeah, ended up getting completely wiped out and forgiven. And do you know that you have never heard boo about fiscal responsibility from the Republicans on that shit?
Because
And
or
it's
from the
not
Marjorie
like
Taylor
black
they
got
were
one.
or
literally
from the
hundreds,
black
like billions of
celebrities, right?
dollars
You
gone.
have all these black celebrities who've been complaining about PPP loans and being prosecuted and all of that. He didn't free them. He didn't give them this secret erasure. He didn't erase anything for Waka Flocka and for Lil Wayne and for all
He
these
did for
black people
Kanye
who.
though.
Oh, see, did he do it for Charlemagne? We to find out. Did he do it
I
for the
will have to find out,
Charlemagne?
but Kanye was on the list. So
Mm.
yeah.
But that's
Um,
the thing,
yeah.
though. Most, and then you also have Republicans that are in Congress who benefited from PPP loans. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene and etc. And many of them who benefited from these PPP loans. It's funny that only 25% of PPP loans actually went to workers, while they're complaining about 18% of those in Americans who actually have student loan forgiveness actually getting something. There's not much difference of a number there. And the part that's frustrating is the fact that they're complaining about Gen Z asking for student loan forgiveness when they're going into the workforce, a workforce that's completely occupied because we understand that people are retiring at an older age, meaning a lot of these jobs aren't available for them. Meaning they might have to do a call center job. They might have to do something that may not be in their profession. So in order for them to be able to pay off these student loans, it's going to based off of their income, which is important why Joe Biden is putting out programs like Save. So that way it's not a burden for them because it's not their fault they're not able to get the job that they want to qualify for, but because of the workforce and the occupancy, they're not able to do the things that they're dreaming of. It's not their fault.
There's people that had to like that got from retirement had to go back to work because you know Republicans was trying to skim off their social security. You
And
know,
that's the Republican plan. That is the
yeah,
plan. Like, that's why they want to take away Social Security. They want to push the American working age further back to 70 as tons of
they
challenges
want to increase the
arise.
retirement age per Nimrod and Nikki Haley.
They want you to work until you die. That's pretty
They
much
But
do.
what they're saying.
why is it that we and it's not a matter of even like we know why. There are too many Americans who are getting their news from news sources like this, the Neighborhood Talk, and other websites and other Instagram, like other clickbaity things like this. So this was on the Neighborhood Talk around student loan forgiveness. President Joe Biden unveiled new student loan debt forgiveness plans that will benefit over 30 million Americans if plans are finalized. Then they said, "Hey neighbors, what do you think about this?" And
That's all the caption said.
yeah, that's all I said. And so here comes the comments. And so the platonic friend who says, "I am screaming sapiosexual." So this is a sapiosexual. I do not know if that falls in the plus category of LGBTQIA plus. I mean, I know it kind of does it, but maybe it does. It just depends on who she's being sapiosexual with. Anyway, the platonic friend said, "This dude lying. He could have did it before, sending 300 million to Ukraine." Um, and so that is what there's tons of comments just like that.
But we're talking about student
Tons.
loan debt forgiveness in the billions from Biden. So
But
what are you
tons of
talking about?
comments like that. Tons. Then you also have he keep dangling this little student loan forgiveness in front of us. Hell, I'm almost paid off anyway. And that came from uh Lord Solomon the Seer. He is some type of musician of sorts. Maybe he fancies himself a magician on the side. But there are tons of comments like this. And it just really makes me, and I mean, really, honestly, the majority of people in this website or this Instagram's comment section, this is what they're saying. These is
Well, let me
we're
just
saying.
say this, Zach. Don't read the comments. The reason why you don't want to read the comments, particularly from pieces like Neighborhood Talk, Hollywood Unlocked, or the Shade Room, is because they thrive off of negativity. Their job is to err on grievances. That's all they're about. But for most times when I talk about student loan debt forgiveness, anytime I mention it in any videos, my comments are flooded with people who have benefited from Biden student loan
But
forgiveness. There
Kenny,
is a
we cannot
silent
live.
majority.
No,
There is
I
a
don't agree
no. I'm
with you.
serious. There's a
I know what
silent.
you're saying because my comments have the same positive slant. But here's the thing: we can't allow ourselves, because we're on the front lines of this work, to be in an echo chamber. That's what too many people in political circles do. Is they want to be in a comfortable place of having everyone affirm them and what they believe, because they what they believe they think is right, or it may be right, right? So I go in the comments and I look at the profiles to determine, first and foremost, are you a real person or are you a bot? And then I kind of take notes when I have, to
But look
say
at this
this is
girl.
the
She's
number of
got a
bots.
private account.
This
Most
is the
likely,
number. Well, I'm not saying that the platonic friend is real. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I go through a process. And this is my process. And I look to see how many, when I do a quick scan, of people are bots and are real. Then I look at, for the real people out there, how many people are in the comments, under the comments, stating facts, being truthful. And then if I don't see a fair ratio, I'm going to comment. I'm going to do my part of trying to educate on this comment. And then I'm going to see how many likes my truthful comment with education around the issue is going to get. On this comment post, I made no comments. I didn't have to. People were in the comments that, combating the foolishness, but it was way too many real Americans having negative sentiments around student loan forgiveness because they're not educated. These are voters. These are people in the constituency. We have to consider the work ahead of us in the 9 months left, or the 8 months left, to achieve, or it's actually 4 months, like it's less than that actually, right? But in the months that we have left until November to get over the finish line. And I also kind of look at where they're from. If they're from like a state like Texas, if you're from New York, you're from California, disregard. You don't matter. And I would love to even say that to them. Like, I don't have a problem saying you don't matter because you're not in a battleground state. But if you are in one of the 8 possible battleground states, we definitely have to look at how to address it, because we can't ignore it. I mean, we
but
can,
are they
but
really
I
voters
don't think
though?
it's. I think we should address it.
You know what I
Yeah,
think?
I'm with you, Kenny. I don't think
But
they're
are they really
voters.
voters? Let me just tell you, this is not my
No,
first rodeo
most
with these
many of
people in
them
the
may not
comments.
be voters, but they could be voters. Now, the
I mean,
truth, yeah,
that's
I
great.
agree.
That's
No,
great
here's
if
here.
that's the case. But this is my rebuttal to that. For those who saying, "Oh, well, he keeps dangling it in our face. We're not going to qualify for this, that, and the other." Well, when Save Auto enrolls you and you start seeing your payments go down, then you can sit here and say, "Thank you, Biden," because that's something that you can see that you didn't even have to do anything for, something
No,
you
here.
didn't have to work for or apply for.
So
So we'll see.
here's my thing, right? Two can be true, I guess, at the same time. Yes, they're not voters, Kenny, and you don't have to read this stuff. And Zach, I know you try to acknowledge people, but here's the thing.
You're wasting time.
I said this on tonight's phone call regarding, the hive and advocating for the VP and the president. There needs to be a 50 state strategy. You focusing on battleground states is very important. Doing a 50 state strategy talking about the accomplishments, including the student loan forgiveness, including the American Rescue Plan, including the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, with better broadband, addressing the supply chain, which the president has done, like, to talk about things like that, not, and all other stuff that this administration has done. We got to talk to, you got to be boots on the ground, as we say in New York. Hit the ground running, hit the pavement running. Like, you have to hit the pavement running, and this administration has to hit the pavement running. And your surrogates can speak, that's fine, but you got to have local surrogates everywhere. Like, you got to see those testimonials, and it just can't just only be just battleground state. It needs to be everywhere, even in the reddest states, even in the most bluest states, because the Republicans only 2025 strategy is a whole host of things. They're trying to make the bluest areas in our country. I don't like the blue red state thing, to make the most democratic areas in, like, certain pockets to be turned Republican. That's what they're trying to do, and they're feeding off of ish, like this. So a 50 state strategy can be, well, you don't have to, I don't read the stuff on social media. I don't read it. I don't care about it because I know half of these people ain't real, and I know like those are the people are going to be one way. Everybody's not going to agree. Unfortunately, they're not going to like understand like policies is going to help them. Not knocking what anybody says, but a 50 state strategy needs to happen. If it does not happen, we can easily lose this election. And I think the president just need to hit everybody. He's like, "Are you better off today than you were 4 years ago?"
Well,
I
let
just
me
want
just
to
say
add
this.
one thing.
Go ahead,
I just
Carrie.
want to I just want to add one thing. So, you have one thing I have not heard anyone say or acknowledge is on those pages, Zach, you are going to see that type of feedback. And the reason why is because there are bot farms that are going to promote and to like and to they're going to look for the keywords that are negative, and the people who are, they might be real, and you might see, well, this comment has 45, 100 likes. How many of those likes are real?
Come on.
And so you have to
No, they're not
understand
real,
what we're
but
up
we
against.
know this. Listen, li-
I get you.
I know
Perception is
social media
reality.
strategy like no one would have. You have no idea how well I know social media strategy, how well
But
I've been
but
doing this. That's
with
why
that,
I've been able to grow the accounts on TikTok that I've been able to grow, right? Like, listen to me. There is a psychological strategy in what they're doing that we're not combating. So even though the likes aren't real, even though the comments and the praise isn't real, it sends a message to the uneducated or the unaware consumer of content that, oh, maybe I should be thinking this way. Oh, maybe I should consider this point of view. That is how it works. And that's why they do it. That's why they put so much money into it. And it baffles me that we don't have a democratic answer to this as a strategy to combat it, because Republicans have been doing this since 2015. Steve Bannon is a mastermind and manipulator of this work, and he is still using the same dirty, dark playbook and getting results. I agree with you, Shantae, about doing work in all 50 states, but because of the moment, the DNC needs to keep pumping their money into those battlegrounds with boots on the ground, paying actual human beings to do the heavy lifting,
Oh no,
but
that's understandable.
but strategizing, because the battleground states of today should not be the battleground states of tomorrow. We should win this year the battleground states of 2024 and have a whole new set in 2028. That
We
is
should
how
win
we're,
battleground states, and we should win where
yeah.
Republicans majority win. Like it's a no brainer. It's literally a binary choice. Like I'm telling people, like it's a binary choice. And like the
But
Republicans are
young
running like
people and a lot of young people and marginalized voters, they really don't understand that. We have to find a way to take our knowledge and experience and years of activation and work and transfer that to young people because they really don't get it. I
real
literally am
conversations
seeing
happen,
I'm
and I had
seeing trans
conversations.
Americans fighting and arguing about I'm not voting for Biden. When you are about to be criminalized and denied the essential medical care that you need to continue to thrive and flourish in this country under Donald Trump. I am seeing migrants to this country who are citizens to this country, who have family members who are not citizens, saying they want to see Trump as president. There's a lack of awareness around the consequences that this election is going to bring, and I think it's getting drowned out in the noise.
Do you think that, Zach, I have a question for you. Do you think Biden's in trouble for winning this? Like, are you of the mind that he's in trouble and not going to win?
And, President Biden is going to win the popular vote. President Biden is in trouble, but it's not insurmountable because there's work to be done. I'm also someone, and I'll go to the slide. Like I look, y'all. I'm a super consumer of like lots of stuff, and so, and I know we talked last week about like the polls don't matter. The polls really don't matter. I agree with you, right? The polls don't matter, but I bet you I look at every single one of them. And right now, we're showing that Biden is up across the board in a number of key polls, including Quinnipiac, whatever, which is one that leans very right, that leans very Republican. But even with that being said, it doesn't matter the popular vote in this country because Hillary Clinton won it and Al Gore won it, and they never became president. It's about the Electoral College. I
Yes.
firmly believe right now that President Biden is going to carry Wisconsin, but not by a large margin, but indicators show that he's leading there. He's going to. I think he's going to make it. I think he's going to make it in Pennsylvania. But because of what is happening in the Middle East, Michigan is in danger.
I don't,
And I don't think that there's work being done, but more has to happen, and we have got to find a way to change the hearts and minds of Michiganders and bring them back to the fold. If that happens, we're good. We have maintained the blue wall. We're in good shape. But at the other end of it, we can't just count on Michigan. You have to have other things in play. North Carolina is vulnerable, unlikely, but vulnerable. People think Florida's in play. I have to see it to believe it. But we also have to do a very hardcore press in Nevada and Arizona. And I'm very worried about those states because not only are they essential to, I think to President Biden having a strong, like irrefutable victory as president, it's key that they also have Senate seats open. And so yeah, I don't feel great. I feel 60-40.
I'm 99. That's how confident. I have a completely different outlook on this
I'm glad.
election.
Me too.
Tell us about it. Well, yeah, y'all tell me about it.
Look, okay, so let me
I
just
do.
counter. Let me counter first because he said a mouthful of a lot of things that we just have to have a little pushback. The reason why I understand that a lot of people feel like the internet is real life and perception is reality. If perception was reality, then the person who would be president right now would be Bernie Sanders and our VP would be Nina Turner. That is not the case. It doesn't matter how many arenas you fill. It doesn't matter what's showing up online and how many people quote unquote love you online. But if they don't show up to the polls, then you don't win. And that's the part that people are forgetting. They're forgetting the fact that people overwhelmingly turned out for Biden and didn't turn out for the other person. People overwhelmingly turned out for Biden in the primaries, and then it translated over to the general. And even when people saying, well, he's too old, he's got cognitive decline, they were spreading all types of rumors about sexual assault when it came to that one lady. I can't even think of her name right now. But all the things that were working against him and everybody in the shade room comments, in the neighborhood on lock saying, Trump's going to win. Trump's going to win. He's got not only the power of incumbency, but he's going to win because Biden is just so unpopular and boring. And Trump sent us a check. Even holding the money and writing his name on it. All of those things, even with the power of incumbency, the man still lost. We still unified. And the problem that we're having right now is a lot of people aren't tuned into politics as we understand. But as we get closer to the general election, that's when people are going to start paying attention because people have short attention spans. And that's what the problem is.
People
I
are gonna
will.
get
This is
activated in
why
September.
we have
Yeah.
a long push. That's why I say everybody keeps saying it's so
Yeah.
early because it is.
Something else is
Only
going to
It
But
pop
is.
but
off to where
but
they all going to go and vote for the president. Something else is going to pop off.
okay, but
Of course
listen,
something's going
y'all.
to pop
Listen,
off.
y'all.
How? Go ahead.
We are not addressing the elephant in the room. The big fat orange elephant, y'all, starts a criminal trial on Monday.
Oh, the bum.
The bum. His trial starts Monday. How are you going to run for an election when once that happens, just so you know, every single poll that we saw, even though nobody agrees the polls, but those polls that had him ahead where people are like, yeah, I'm going to vote for him. When you say, hey, if he gets convicted of a criminal crime, would you vote for him? That number drops 30%. Like you can't have a criminal trial. So we're not taking into the fact that he literally is going to have a criminal trial that starts this Monday. We are also not taking into the fact that he's not cracking 80% in red states, Florida, Ohio. And just look at it. I don't know if you guys take in Republican media, but they are worried. Like they don't think he can win, y'all. They are really counting on Robert Kennedy Jr., Bobby, to make it so there is a contingent election. They know Donald Trump can't get to 270. They know it. And his statement last night with regards to abortion proves it because he knows he cannot win elections. And Arizona Supreme Court just did us a huge favor. And now I say we win Arizona.
Come on, white women in Arizona, show us
Yeah,
your turquoise jewelry.
I'm not saying that they're not gonna vote, they're not gonna come through, but this is the home of Carrie Lake. I'm not holding my breath just yet. I was trying to pull up an interactive map for you, Woody, to show you, like, because I have it up, but it's not transitioning because they have an interactive map on 270 to win, and you're able to kind of go through and click the states with the electoral votes to identify what's going to happen and kind of where it goes. And it also shows you now kind of what's trending, and what real battleground states exist. And really, your real battleground states right now are Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. And right now, as of today, they have Georgia there. I don't think Georgia is a battleground, but they have it. I think North Carolina is a greater play than Georgia, but that's just my, opinion. And if we have to win uh, with Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and then we could lose Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia. But if we win Nevada and Arizona, Wisconsin and Pennsylvania, but lose Michigan and Georgia. I mean, it's just a lot of different things that come in there that factor into it. I think I would love to say that Arizona is going to go blue, but I just can't say that abortion is enough of an issue to
I mean, he
push
won last time.
the. He did, but it was a small, it was a small margin of victory. And I want us to also think about this. This is something that no one's really talking about, and this confidence and optimism. People, there is nothing that Donald Trump can do to lose the MAGA voter. There's
No,
nothing that he can do. Donald Trump could get Ivanka Trump pregnant today and then go on national TV and force an abortion, and he would still not lose the MAGA voter.
But
But
Zach,
here's the
there's
problem.
nothing. There's
For we have way too many people that would be voting solidly blue this year who are saying that they're not going to. And I'm not saying that's something that President Biden could have avoided. I'm not saying it's something that President Biden could even fix at this point, because the society, Republican strategy, Russian interference, they've done an excellent job of creating a catch-22 around what's happening in Gaza. We know that Benjamin Netanyahu is no friend of American democracy. He is no friend of any Democratic president. He is an ally of Donald Trump. He is friends with the Kushner family. We know all that. And to see the continuous maneuvering and the continuous poll dropping around this issue, it does concern me. Gen Z voters care a great deal, as they probably should, about the geopolitical implications of what's happening in the Middle East. A number of Black voters, as they should, identify and resonate with what's happened to the people of Palestine. And we have no choice as an American government but to be publicly supportive of the Israeli government, even though, and also have no choice in my mind ethically, but to be in the background arguing against what they're doing and fighting them to stop, which is happening, but it's not being made public. It can't be made public. And as a result, President Biden is costing him votes with younger voters and with minority voters. That's a reality that worries me.
so yes to everything you said, but I think that first of all, I think this is a really healthy discussion. And honestly, the more Democrats that are scared, the harder that we work and we go out there. Personally, I feel pretty confident about it. But back to your point when you said that there's nothing Donald Trump could do to lose a MAGA voter, you're absolutely right. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Zach. There ain't shit he can do to gain votes. He's not winning over
Well,
new voters that he
that's true.
didn't have in 2020. Like he's not. So he's stuck at that same number, that 38%. He's stuck at that. And so in order for him to, honest to God, in order for him to win this election, he can't get to 270. So he can cause Biden to not get to 270 by utilizing Robert Kennedy Jr., which we saw that they admitted that on camera, right? Um, that's his path to the presidency. That I'm worried about is them
Right.
stopping Biden from getting 270. But as far as Trump, he's not winning over more voters than he had in 2020.
And we're going to talk about RFK and the possibility. So so just very briefly, I put this little map up, right? So let's say, if we get Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, we're good. We're going to win by 2 electoral votes, 272 to 266. But if we lose Arizona, it's over. We've lost. It's done. If we lose Nevada, but we win Arizona, we've also lost. Now, that's what I'm saying. Michigan and those 15 electoral votes are essential. We could lose Nevada, we could lose Arizona, but if we win Michigan, we win with just the bare number we need. We cannot
That's that's
afford.
that's
We
why it's
cannot afford to
important.
lose
That's why
Michigan.
I said that 50 state strategy, beats on like foot on the ground. I'm studying, dribbling my words. It's late. Feet on the ground and everything. That's why it's important. And yes, that whole thing in like I said, I think this war, and I don't want to get into the weeds because I'm not a diplomat. I have working book knowledge of all of this, right? Because this goes before, like, this is the biblical times. This is a war between Nimyatu and Hamas. This is not between
It
the people
is.
of Israel and the people of Palestine,
That is
because
true.
the people of Israel hate Nimyatu. It's unfortunate that our president is an
Benjamin
institutional.
Netanyahu is the Donald Trump of Israel.
Yes.
And the people that support him are comparable to the people that support Donald Trump, and then vice versa.
Absolutely.
This could be the exact same thing happening in America, where we would have Trump as president who's doing horrible things, and we're begging and fighting against it, but he's not. But we're not in power, and that's
And
what we
also
get.
another issue is why also aid is being held up in for the Gaza stuff, because you guess what? You have your crazy ass caucus, the Grand Insurrectionist Caucus, the crazy caucus, don't want to do anything, wants to wipe Palestinians out.
Well, question: will we be having
Yeah.
any town halls this year? Because I don't think we're having any debates.
They need to have some town halls.
Well, I
Did you
think
see Crazy Don said that he's trying to weasel out of the debate, saying that he believes that Biden needs to cocaine test before he'll agree to a test.
No,
They,
first
And
of
they
all,
don't.
the
We'll do that.
I don't want any debate. They don't need debates.
no, they don't
We
need
don't
the
No,
even
debates.
need it. We
We
don't even
know
need
these
it. We don't
two.
even need it.
no, no,
We
Yeah.
no.
know it, right?
We do. We do need a debate. The very reason why I'm asking for a debate or a town hall is so that way, when Arab Americans hear Donald Trump and his issues and his stance when it comes to Israel, then they'll be able to make a real educated decision on what they're
But
going to
Kenny,
do
let
in
me tell.
November.
I hate to say this. I hate to say this, but I'm going to say, listen. I did some research. The So many of the people in that Palestinian communities of Dearborn, they really aren't Democrats. They
Oh,
don't
they've been
align with the
moving right for
values.
years.
Yeah, they don't align with the values of the Democratic Party. I think that this just excites them in the desire to see a Republican leader get into place, because some of them are at the point where they want to burn it all down. So no matter what, I mean, again, this man is talking about poisoning. These people are poisoning the blood of the American nation. They don't care. They just want to. They want. They're angry. They're angry, and I think this is a vote out of that anger. I don't think it's going to make a big difference. I think what makes a big with all that to say, because people are like, you got me scared. I know y'all know. I mean, I'm not Brian with the optimism and the hope. I'm about the fear. I'm about the fucking fear. But with the fear being said, there is a way to fix this, and the Democratic Party, luckily, the DNC with Jamie Harris' leadership, they're doing that, and this is how they're doing it. They're doing it with putting people in the offices, field offices in these battleground states and hiring people. We just had a new team of people or additional people named to support the work of the Biden campaign in Georgia, like 9 all-stars. 9 all-stars have been hired in Georgia to do really big work. I know one of the guys personally. I met him at a fundraiser for Georgia State Representative Park Cannon. She was a young lady who was arrested with her arm was damaged in protesting the election, the right, the voting issues in Georgia. And it's a young man, a young white man who is like, he works for like the state house, for Democrats in the state house. He's a part of this new team of people that are going to really work hard in Georgia, but their work is cut out for them, but the money is being put into it. With that being said, Donald Trump has hired 5 people to work in 5 battleground states. 5 people, not 5 people in one state, but 5 people across 5 different battleground states to work. So the Democrats are doing well on that end, which is a beautiful thing. But more education, in my opinion, has to happen to get the word out, to really make it known to people the consequences that are at stake. I don't think enough people know about Project 2025. I don't think enough people know the rhetoric that Trump is using to talk about migrants, to talk about Muslims, to talk about gay people. I don't think that they know that, or even black people. I don't think people are hearing it.
I
I
think
think
Rashida, what they say for Rashida Tlaib get uh, uh ousted? I
Primary.
don't know.
I don't think
Primary.
she's being Wait, is that? Yeah, there's a gentleman. I
There's a
there
donated.
is
gentleman
Yeah,
somebody
that's
primary,
I
but we don't
donated
know.
to
I don't
she's
know
Kennebrew.
at
what the
risk.
polls
That
look.
is Kennebrew. I donated to Kennebrew's campaign. I donated to Wesley Bell's campaign against Cori Bush. Yeah, these people.
They are
Well,
at risk.
Corey's gone. She's not going to win that. See, we have to just look at the writing on the wall. Corey's gone. That's why she's doing these hot plates in her office, talking about you Missouri Congresswoman and this, that, and the other with her roles, and
What about Jamal? Is Jamal Bowman? Is Jamal out? Is Jamal
he's
gone?
no, he's not going nowhere.
well,
Jamal's
no, I heard he's in trouble.
I heard
That's what
he's
I'm
in
hearing.
trouble.
Yeah,
You
he's in
think
He's in
I
so?
trouble.
heard he's
trouble,
in trouble.
and those
What's the
people,
polls
and
looking like?
I
I
think
mean, I heard he's in
it's
trouble
neck and neck.
from some pretty reputable pollsters. They're like, it is not looking good for 3 out of the 4 squad members. The only one they think that might survive this is the one here in Minnesota, but the other 3 they think are.
I think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is changing her tune because she realized
She
some
hasn't
families
said a
in Jackson,
thing.
them families in Jackson Heights and even in the east side of the Bronx is side eyeing her as they should because
Corey
first of
is
all,
out. Bowman
Corey
is
gone.
out. Listen, as of right now, Bowman is like people. This man, Bowman is down by 17 points against
Mhm.
George Latimer.
Yes,
17 points. So
I
it's
didn't
Bowman
know
is
he
in
was doing this
trouble. Bowman's in trouble. Corey Bush is in trouble. Who's the other one that's in trouble?
Talib.
to
bad. Is
leave.
she in
So
trouble?
Talib is in trouble. If Talib actually loses that seat in the primary, then boom, we don't have to worry about Michigan, and all will be well. And Kenny, I'll send you a pint of Jenny's ice cream to say you were right
You
and I
know
was wrong.
what? You know I'm having a party because you already know what I felt about her telling black people in her
Let
district.
me look that one up real quick.
I
Talib
think
poll.
she's okay, Woody. I think she's okay.
I like my little Dominican congressman,
Well,
the lone
let's talk about
Dominican.
Raspy. Let's talk about Raspy since we were
Yeah,
talking
let's go
about
to Raspy while I look this up. Kenny, you are the local expert on the Raspberry that is RFK Jr. and his work to muddy all water.
Well, Kerry actually spilled more tea than I was privy to. Was it his campaign manager basically saying that, hey, what we're trying to do, is there any Biden supporters in the room? What we're trying to do is make sure that neither candidate makes it to 270 in the Electoral College. So that way it goes to the Congress and they would have to decide. And we know that right now that there's a majority of Republicans in the House and they would be able to appoint Trump as the president if neither candidate makes the 270. So that's the goal. That's always been the goal. But it even gets worse. I also read recently that some of the people who work in his campaign actually was there during the insurrection.
Actually, the woman who said that was there during the insurrection.
Goodbye.
You know what's
I'm
so
out.
sad? He's an embarrassment to his family. It's crazy because his family is one of the most institutionalized Democratic Party families. Like they're huge. Like
But
they're
which
like the
Democratic person is like,
Mm.
oh my God? I mean, who's really alive that say, I want to vote for a Kennedy? They were so good. I mean, who's alive that's going to be like, I really want to vote for a Kennedy because of their last name?
it's crazy. And you know what's
Herman.
so sad too is like his family members, like one of his like two of his family members work for the administration. That's crazy. His what is it? His first cousin, which
But they
is
all denounced
Jacqueline,
him.
huh?
They all denounced
I know
him.
they all denounce him, but it's crazy. Like Jacqueline supports him, and I mean works for
Mm.
him, and also what's his name? The one that was the congressman in Boston, and he ran for the Senate. He lost. He's the special envoy. He has his great grandfather's position that when his grandfather served under Roosevelt. He's a special envoy to Ireland. So I'm like, he's an embarrassment to his
So
father.
yeah, a little bit of background, y'all. So when Trump was elected in 2016 as president elect, he reached out to Bobby. You know, Bobby and him used to party with Epstein together. Bobby's been on Epstein's plane a few times. Bobby's really good for y'all. Bobby is
I did see that.
yeah, Bobby's friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. The PAC that's supporting Bobby is the same super PAC that supported Marjorie Taylor Greene, George Santos. They are friends with, again, Ghislaine Maxwell. But anyway, back to 2016, Trump reached out to him and said, hey, I would like you to be basically like on his cabinet, have like a vaccine czar. Can you imagine
Oh
what a nightmare
God.
that would be?
Oh my God. We'd
So,
all be
yes.
in the ground.
Well, so he ended up not getting it, and the woman who said that, she wrote in her Facebook post, because people are like, well, why do we want Trump to win? She's like, yeah, Trump. And she's like, well, Bobby would get a cabinet position. So all of this is coming back to the fact that Bobby really is hoping for, like some sort of cabinet position, or, a vaccine czar. And I think too, like, do y'all know this man's history of
Yes,
what he
I
did to his wife, his ex-wife?
no, not that history.
Do you know? Okay, so in the 70s, he was like a partier. We got all that. His second wife, the mother of three of his children, basically he would be begging her for all these kind of like threesomes, and he would cheat on her all the time. And he kept this book next to them, next to the nightstand, and wrote down all of his conquests. She became very depressed. He told her, well, you know what? You'd just be better off if you unalived yourself. And
Well,
she did.
oh my God.
And 6 weeks later, he married the woman he's married to now.
Well, here's the thing about RFK that confuses me because I read that he was on heroin for 18 years. And it's interesting enough that he's anti-vaccine, but he was willing to stick that dirty needle in his arm. That's what throws me entirely. For 18 years. But also the fact that he's just outlandish with his conspiracy theories. I mean, his tin hat is tingling when we already know that throat is tingling. We already know and we can hear it very well. The problem that I have with RFK is the fact that he tried to link Prozac, antidepressants, and try to link it to mass shootings, saying that's the reason. And then he also say it's because of vaccines is the reason why children have autism.
So
He
he's an
also said that
embarrassment to
something
his
that's making people trans.
his 90
Yes.
something year old mom. He's an embarrassment to her. Poor Ethel. Why Ethel has to? Ethel's in her 90s. Why she have to go through this?
I didn't
Ethel,
Why?
realize Ethel was still with us.
Ethel's still with us, honey.
I had no
Ethel is
idea.
still here. Ethel survived. Ethel never remarried. Ethel survived. She said, "I'm gonna do the work," and She was campaigning for her grandson, like when he was running for Senate, Gma. Yeah, because listen, and she lost children. I think she lost like what, one or two kids, and the only good son of Robert F. Kennedy Sr. is the one that had his no, that's Teddy's child that
That's
had the foot amputated. I'm sorry, leg amputated. See, I'm getting it because I've read so much about the Kennedys because I went to school in Massachusetts, so that's why. Like they were all over Massachusetts. So yeah, no, he's an embarrassment. He's an embarrassment. That's why I call him the reject Kennedy child, because like he is a reject. He is a low life. He's beyond the black sheep. He's just an abysmal jackass. I'm sorry to call I never would call a Kennedy that, but he is definitely one. He is not his father, and definitely not his uncles. More so his father, because his father was the real deal. His father was the one that fought for James Meredith to enter into the University of Mississippi. If I stand corrected.
so you are correct. He is so dangerous that, well, he's dangerous. And we have to acknowledge that this is the only way Trump gets into the White House, y'all, is with him siphoning off and preventing Biden or Trump from getting 270. Because Trump can't get 270. He knows it. Everybody on the Republican side knows it. They are betting on Biden. That's why, y'all, his biggest single donor is the same man that is Trump's biggest single donor. They are the same person. He has literal Trump supporters and donors working on his campaign and giving him the money because they know in order for Trump to get into office, they need him to siphon off votes. And so that is what we really need to just make sure everyone's aware of.
But with RFK, my other question is: do you think it's a vanity slash revenge project because Biden censored him in
Mm,
2021 with all the misinformation he spread about COVID, and the fact that he said
mm.
that a baseball legend by the name of Hank Aaron died due to the vaccine when he actually died of old
Yeah.
age?
I think it's also a part of the grip. I just wanted to give a piece of interesting history because I just quickly made sure I was right. James Meredith came to my when I was in college to speak at Mississippi State. And James Meredith's legendary civil rights leader, because he integrated the first University of Mississippi. Mind you, I went to Mississippi State where the first black student was Richard Holmes, who attended like I think 2 months, who like was going through the process as James Meredith, but to no fanfare, to no actual pushback, to no fights, to no military involvement, because Mississippi State is a different place. It's the largest school in Mississippi. It is the most diverse. Well, it's not the most diverse, but they always had more students of color than the University of Mississippi, which I prefer to call the school of I don't even I hate to say the name of the school. It's so racist. It is so egregious that what the school exists and stands for and how they operate. I hate that school. So I was
Mississippi State,
really
you?
University of Mississippi, where
Oh, okay.
James Meredith integrated with support of the Kennedys. So this man came to speak at Mississippi State, and at the time I was an editor for our college newspaper, and I'm there, ready to take notes, so excited. This man got on the microphone, and it was like hearing from Clarence Thomas. And I am who I am and have always been this way. So, of course, I wrote a blistering editorial in the newspaper that like set off all type of like firestorm of like complaints and people angry, and I disrespected the legend. But he said some cool shit if I ever heard some cool shit. And this man is a hardcore Republican to this day. I'm just letting you know. That's James Meredith. Continue.
Why do you think that is?
The I'm going to tell you what I think. I think I just think that there are some people who were doing the work for the right reasons. They knew they were making harsh sacrifices of themselves and their life for future generations to have opportunities. And there were some people who were doing it for themselves in proximity to whiteness. I think that James Meredith came in the second half.
And my thing about it is just like I understood. I don't know who was the governor. I don't know. It was George. I forgot. Oh, was it Bull Con? It was one of them. And all I know is yes, they were Dixiecrats, but you see that those Dixiecrats enter to the Republican Party. You could have left the goddamn Republican Party. Your ass did not leave the goddamn Republican Party, and it was the Democratic Party. More so, Bobby Senior is. I'm. You know what? That doesn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. And even though we are running, it's 11:22 here, but on the East Coast. But I'm just saying, it's just see how you not keeping track of time, Zachary. And so
Yeah,
I
we're way
understand.
over.
I understood like what you were saying, but yeah, Mr. Reject Kennedy Child is just a bum.
I think it's because it was so conversational, and I think we were really getting juicy. But the thing that I want people to understand is the reason why we see things as like that is because of people like this right here. It's called the grift. A lot of people are jumping on the Trump train because they want that tax cut. They understand that their advocacy is transactional, and it's never been about actually getting the work done. It's about the dollars, which I did a video earlier about a lot of people pretending to care about the movement when they actually care about getting the check.
I like how the fact you have Leonard's face just right there.
I know. I thought it was really, I was like, wow, that's good Photoshop. But I loved your video today when you really made me think about it. You just like, all of these people have the same access to the White House that I do.
We all do.
And they're never on those
I
calls.
don't.
That we all do. They're never on those calls. They're never, they just choose. And you said it. It's because for clicks, they get more clicks if they say the more controversial opinion.
Which is
It's
why
all
I
about
got
money.
upset at the beginning of the video when you posted the post from Neighborhood Talk, because I know
Yeah.
that they actually have access to the White House. The
No,
White House
Kyle
literally
is
reached
invited
out.
to be there. Yeah.
Yes, but
Yeah.
they have that line of access to the White House where they can get the full information because they get the briefings. It's how they choose to frame it. It's if they want to put the information out there, knowing that this is going to benefit so many
Yep.
people, and telling people, well, this is how many people are going to benefit, and this is how, rather than just putting a vague of possibly if we'll be able to benefit 30 million borrowers. Tell all the people how they're going to benefit. We already went from point to point to point on how many people are going to benefit, who's going to benefit, and how people are automatically going to benefit without them even having to enroll. I mean, you don't even have to
That's
lift a
right.
finger for
That's
the
right.
forgiveness.
That's right. So, with that being said, I think, one thing to think about is really to what extent RFK Jr. is going to have an impact. I think we'll continue to see that play out. And, hopefully we're going to continue our work of educating people around the ultimate goal of RFK as we approach it. We have indeed, Shantae, gone on a little bit too long. And we will end it right here. I want to thank you guys for joining us and checking us out. We got 141 people watching, the majority of them on the Malcolm X app. We love you for watching us on YouTube because that's what helps grow the account and grow the metrics. And maybe one day we will have enough money to pay people for their time and the commitment they make to give us an hour here. And so, yep. And so thank you guys. Yeah, we did hear what The Rock said. But the truth of the matter is The Rock has always been a Republican. That's not going to change. And he's catering to his base with wrestling and those who love it like Brian.
Yep.
And then the grift, yep, I am not I am not saying that, Woody. But we know and we agree. And thank you guys so much. Thank you, Barbara. We love you, and we will see you guys all next week.
Bye, y'all.